Well, we are really, really pleased as the Butler County Commissioners. I'm Leslie Oshie. This is my fellow Commissioner, Kimberly Geyer, and our third Commissioner, Commissioner Boozle, is here with us today also. And cheers for the men in the room, right? We can really feel always the electricity in the room when we all get together in the region, when our women all gather, because it's always an exciting time. We are always proud and blessed to host this event, which has always been a sellout event, and to welcome you all here to Butler County, where we lead the region in growth, in manufacturing, in education, and most of all in collaboration. And we love to have everyone here joining us today. And I am very grateful to the Pittsburgh Business Exchange and to the Butler County Chamber of Commerce for holding this event and sponsoring it every single year, and to all the sponsors who make it possible. And also to our founder of this event, Mr. Jim Roddy, who is over here joining us again today. I think this was his dream child, and who has always been about working in unity and working together, and always about collaboration and working together as a region, and always looking to lift us up as a region. So we are excited to hear from today's speakers in this amazing panel of folks today, and excited to have the host who is joining us today. So I just want to say, this is an opportunity for you. I hope you listen, ask questions, talk to each other, share. Don't miss out on what opportunities are here for you today to connect and to stay connected, because it's that connectivity that will make this the #1 region in the country. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Geyer.
Thank you. So good morning. For the past 4 years, the Women Shaping Our Region Forum has marked a time to appreciate, elevate, and celebrate women and their accomplishments. It's our honor as county commissioners to welcome each one of you to Butler County today, as we recognize an esteemed panel of amazing women whose talents and accomplishments are transforming what is a family-owned business, information technology, workplace safety, leadership and business development, wealth management, and the higher education system here and beyond southwestern Pennsylvania. As county commissioners, we strongly believe that when we empower women and when we are empowered, we lift up our communities, and we do it in innovative and charitable ways. On behalf of Butler County, thank you to all of our sponsors, especially Armstrong, our premier sponsor, for today's event, along with the Pittsburgh Business Exchange and the Butler County Chamber of Commerce. So we invite you to sit back, relax, and be inspired. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kimberly Baker Nicholas. I'm laughing for a second. Sorry. My daughter had to give a presentation yesterday, and she goes, "Mommy, I did just fine, but my hands were shaking, and I wish she could see." So are her moms. So I'm going to put this down. Good morning, esteemed guests, panelists, and fellow attendees. My name is Kimberly Baker Nicholas, and you will see that there is a theme with Kym's today. And I proudly stand before you as the president of the Pittsburgh Business Exchange. It is said that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Our panelists today are epitomes of that proverb. Their journeys, experience, and insights promise to inspire, motivate, and most important, empower each one of us. Before we delve deeper into their wisdom, it is my honor and privilege to recognize and introduce some esteemed members of our audience. We are graced by the presence of several distinguished government officials who are sharing their valuable time with us today. Please rise when I mention your name. Senator Pat Stefano. We can clap at the end since I know we started later. Representative Rob McCurry. Or not. Representative Marla Brown. Is she here? Maybe not. Representative Marcy Mostello. Butler County Judge Mara Palumbi. We've already met Butler County Commissioner Leslie Oshie, and Butler County Commissioner Kym Gable, and Butler County Commissioner Mr. Kevin Boozle. We also have Butler County Treasurer Diane Marburger with us this morning. Is Slippery Rock Mayor John David Longo here? I have his name, but I don't see his face. Hopefully he joins us. Denise Spangler and Julia DeSante, both of the Office of Representative Stephanie Shalaba. They're here. And of course, the Honorable Jim Roddy, the first ever elected executive of Allegheny County. Let's give everybody a round of applause. Thank you for your unwavering support and dedication to the betterment of our community and also this event. And now, without further ado, we are incredibly fortunate to have an exceptional moderator with us today, a name synonymous with credible reporting and stellar journalism from KDKA News, our friend Kym Gable. Thank you, Kym. Do you need this or do you have a mic?
And I think I'm on. Mark, am I on? Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Wow, what a morning this is going to be, right? So as the ladies mentioned, this is a very vibrant collaboration between the Butler County Chamber of Commerce and the Pittsburgh Business Exchange, of which I am an enthusiastic ambassador. If you've never been to a PBX event, I encourage you to attend one soon. And a lot of you may wonder, how do you assemble such a dynamic, successful panel of women who are about to be seated here in a few minutes? Well, that, my friends, is the work of my dear friend, Ethan Nicholas from Slippery Rock University. Ethan, if you could just stand up, please. I don't want to say single-handedly, but he did have quite a hand in getting all of these amazing women here today. He uses what I like to call persuasive charm, right, Ethan? You're a master at it for sure. You cannot say no to Ethan. And Ethan also knows, as my good friend, whenever you have an energy like this in the room and a microphone, I'm just going to manifest. So that's just how it works with me, right? Okay. So we are going to quickly introduce all of the ladies here that are going to be on our panel today. And as I introduce you, please be seated. And they are going to tell you a little more about themselves. So let me tell you how the panel discussion is actually going to work. So many of you have submitted wonderful questions directly to a specific member of our panel or collectively. Those questions and inquiries have been vetted, they've been screened, and we've chosen among the ones you have submitted to ask our panelists here today. So there's not going to be any Q&A. There were some colorful and rather avant-garde questions that we kind of pushed to the side, but we appreciate all of them. So we chose the questions here today from among all of you. So thank you so much for submitting them today. Okay, and as I announce you, you can come up and be seated, ladies. All right, our 2023 panelists for Women Shaping Our Region. First of all, we have Emily Sheets, Associate Vice President of Strategy at Sheets. Please have a seat and welcome Emily. Next we have Stephanie Shulo, President at MSA Americas. Stephanie, welcome. Oh, careful. Next, we have Huma Muhayedin, Market President at BNY Mellon Wealth. Please have a seat. Thank you, Huma. Karina Deal is with us today, the CEO of Deal Automotive Group. And Dr. Karen Riley, President of Slippery Rock University. Also Ethan's boss, right?
I am.
So we have Ethan's boss on stage today. Ethan, be on your best behavior. Okay. All right, we're going to do a little bit of ice breaking here today. So what we're going to do is have you guys... Oh, we're miking them all up, Mark?
I think we're all going to be I have one.
Good. Oh, wonderful.
All right.
Okay, our opening icebreaker today. So before we begin, we are going to have all of you introduce yourselves a little further, brief introductions from each panelist. And you're going to explain your background, how you came into your roles, and also one major accomplishment, either personally or professionally, that you would consider your greatest success story. And I know there's so many, and you could go on and on and on, but in TV time, we like to say a minute 30 is ideal. So if we can keep it under 2 minutes, that would be wonderful, because I know you have so much to share here today. So again, you're going to introduce yourselves, explain your background, how you came into your role, and then one significant personal or professional accomplishment that you consider to be your greatest success story. So for now, we're going to start at this end with Emily.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me?
No.
Not yet. Okay. How about now?
Yeah, you're on.
Yes, on? Do I need to?
Right here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, what an amazing room. Thank you so much all for being here. So my name's Emily Sheets. I obviously work for Sheets Convenience Stores, grew up in the business, and today I'm the Vice President for Strategy and Information Technology. I'm also responsible for our business insights and innovation teams. Growing up in the business, I never thought I would work for the company for a variety of reasons. Maybe we'll get into it. But instead, I was the firstborn daughter, right? So I was going out, I was doing my own thing, independent, ambitious. So I grew up in central Pennsylvania where the company's based. And I wanted to go to the big city. I wanted out of there. So I actually went to the opposite side of the state, went to school in Philadelphia. From there, took a job in banking in New York City, was there for a couple of years, stayed there for my MBA. And while there, I decided, you know what, I want to do something entrepreneurial because I had that spirit and I had that, experience from growing up. And I knew the business at that time, was pretty big, right? It wasn't an entrepreneurial venture anymore, but I wanted to go and work for a startup. I actually also wanted some international experience. So when I graduated with my MBA, I moved to London. I was there for 5 years. I worked for an education startup that was expanding internationally. So I got to go to places all over the world. Definitely once in a lifetime experience. We opened schools in Istanbul, in Bogota, Colombia, Panama, Montenegro, and did a lot of other business development for them. So I was employee number one. I had that full startup experience. I was trying to pay salaries, at the same time as I was trying to get investors to invest in our company. Yep. So it happened that at Sheets, they were going through some governance changes, and my husband and I wanted to start a family, so we said, okay, maybe it's a good time to move back. That was 10 years ago. Had the chance to do some leadership rotations to really get to know the company, and that's kind of how I ended up in the position I'm in. My biggest accomplishment, I think, there was finally able to take my experience and my knowledge of strategy to really change the direction of the company about 5 years ago. And it's made a big difference, and I'm really proud of that.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Stephanie Shulo, and I'm with MSA Safety, and safety is a principle of ours from the start. So getting up on stage, I appreciate that everybody walked up here safely and took the time and to do that. So I'm president of our Americas business unit. It's the largest business unit that we have at MSA. We're a global company, publicly traded, and have been around for over 100 years, but very proud to call Butler County our home. I am new in my role. It's about 100 days in, and I used to be chief legal officer for the company. So this has been a tremendous experience for me, and I'm very grateful that I work for a company who thinks about talent a little differently and sees some of those abilities to make lateral moves and can see a person who might have been a lawyer taking on a business side role. And I can name a number of other people within the company who have made similar moves and have been supported by the kind of culture we have. So I'm very grateful for that. My background, how I came to the company, was actually working for Reed Smith in the region. MSA was my favorite client at the time to work for. And about almost 20 years ago, our insurance carriers stopped paying on very important claims for us. So when I was a very junior associate, I started working trying to collect from 30 different insurance carriers over $1 billion in assets that we were owed. And it took us over a decade, and it was a hard-fought battle to do that. And that's when I got recruited to the company for that very specific reason. It is not just one of my accomplishments, but has shaped the way that I look at talent, because in that experience, it was something that was really what we call in the law, bet the company. It was a company critical transaction to receive that amount of money, which was about a quarter of, at the time, our balance sheet. So it was not an option to fail. And because of that importance, we created a committee of our board of directors of a publicly traded company to oversee the effort. And while I worked very hard and had a lot of help and mentoring along the way, I realized that it was that access to decision makers that taught me something, and the exposure that I got that enabled me to continue to get other opportunities, and success builds on success. So I'm always thinking about who gives access and where we can democratize giving access to people, because you could be putting up great results, but if you don't have that access or that exposure, you might go unheard. So that's a real passion of mine, to be thinking about how we can broaden that access to the most people possible. Thank you very much. Right.
Unfortunately, I have to follow that. I'm Huma Mahiden. I'm the market president for BNY Mellon Wealth Management. That's a mouthful, and that's why my name tag is pretty full here with a lot of letters. But my role is to oversee, I run the Pittsburgh practice. We've been in the Pittsburgh community for over 150 years when the Mellon family founded Mellon Bank. And just a part and ingrained really in the fabric of our community. We are one of the largest practices for wealth management globally. We have 5,500 employees here in Pittsburgh as a firm, and wealth management is about 1,000 employees, and my direct team is about 70. And it's just really, I think I'm biased, but one of the best professions in the world. And it was an iterative process for me to sort of find my way in this industry. My parents are, I'm first generation. So my extended family, where we came from is in Pakistan, and my family were farmers there, and they were proud farmers. And so my dad was, encouraged to stay in the family business as a farmer. My grandmother had and she was one of those women, just like you see up there, other intentions and other dreams for her only child and son. And my grandfather did not want my father to get educated and move abroad, and she did. So when my grandfather would come home from all day in the farms, they would stay up all hours of the night and study behind his back. And my father became a doctor, a physician, and the high aspiration of moving abroad, either to England or the United States, he achieved and moved here in the 70s. My parents just got married, and for the first year of their marriage, she was not able to come into the country. So they would call each other, they would write each other letters, and they still have this funky 70s red phone. And she used to sit in her room in Pakistan and call my dad on it. And they still have that phone at their house right now. So my whole family is in the medical profession. My sister's a dentist, my brother's a lung doctor, my other sister's an ophthalmologist, and on and on. And they contribute to the communities and to help people by managing their health. And I say I manage people's wealth. It's equally one of the biggest stressors for people, health and wealth. And so I look at things a little bit differently. But what that means for me is my family still doesn't know what I do. In fact, not too long ago, my mom texted me and said, I'm at tea with my friends, and they asked me what you do. And I said, I think she's like a teller, but at a higher level. I think they kind of have an understanding now, but still not 100%. One of my biggest accomplishments is probably not a conventional answer, but it's balance. I'm really proud of that, and I work hard at that. With work, it's challenging, and it's fun, and it's high energy and high paced. But I have 2 kids. My son's 12, my daughter's 8, and I want to be very present for them. And that is about making choices and being confident about it. I was on the phone with our CEO at 5 o'clock, and I said, I have to go. I'll call you from the car. I need to beat traffic down 28, and I need to get my kids from daycare. You make those choices and be confident about it, and you can do it. And also, economic growth, family, nonprofit work, I'm really passionate about that. I think we all have a responsibility. What's great about Pittsburgh is there's so many nonprofits and just such an amazing community of close-knit people that want to help. And so that balance is really what I'm most proud about.
Karina.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, so I have to tell you, I'm usually sitting in a room full of men, and I'm really nervous with all you women here. My name's Karina Deal. I'm president and CEO of Deal Automotive Group. Can you hear my heart racing? Right. Thank you. My daughter made me do this, right? So it's all good. I took over in 2007. My husband passed away unexpectedly. Do you hear the heart? Oh my goodness.
Doing great.
I'm doing
You're
it,
doing
right?
great. You're doing
With
great.
all these incredible women. So I took over our business. We had 70 employees at the time. Oh my goodness.
You're doing great.
Since that time, thank you. I've grown the company. I get way too much credit for what I do. We currently have 1,400 employees, 23 dealerships in 2 states. My greatest accomplishment, my 2 children, Matt and Rachel.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. I'm Karen Riley, and I'm the president of Slippery Rock University. No, even if I use my big teacher voice? No? Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Great. Okay, so I'm Karen Riley. I'm the president of Slippery Rock University. And I've been here, I started July 1, so maybe about the same time, maybe about 100 days in. I'm thrilled to be here, obviously. I am in charge of the entire university, so faculty, staff, students, etc. Slippery Rock has a great history. Many of you have seen in recent publications that we are essentially up in a down market, that we are growing where others are shrinking. Really a testament to the faculty, staff, alumni, community support that we have around an institution with a laudable history. I think that I'm excited about the future. I know we're going to talk about some of these things. How did I get here? I'm from Denver. My husband is from Pittsburgh. We met making a Broncos-Steeler bet. You all will be happy to know that I lost. He always says it's the best $12 investment I ever made, and I would probably agree with that. He was there for graduate school, for law school. We lived there, our entire marriage, my entire life. I started as a teacher, a special education preschool teacher. That's my background is in education. I would say, and perhaps there's, there might be a theme that we're starting to hear. I never said, hey, I want to be the president of a university. I don't think even when I was a student that I even knew there was a president of the university. I mean, there were teachers and then they went home, right? So then, I kind of went through all of the teaching. I've had very many experiences. I will say that, and I don't want to forget to say this because last time someone thanked their family and I forgot to thank mine. So I'm very proud of my 2 children. They're grown and are starting families of their own. I went up through the regular system. I was a teacher, then I went back to graduate school after my youngest was born. One accomplishment perhaps is completing my doctoral work in 3 years while having 2 kids under the age of 3 and working. I had a great partner who helped me stay focused and who believed in me, and sometimes when I didn't believe in myself. But what happened, and this again is an interesting theme, I had a lot of opportunities. I was asked to fix things. I was planning on being a researcher. I had NIH funding. I'd been a national postdoc. That was really my path. I really loved the inquiry. And yet, when things were not working well, I was asked to do them, and then asked to do more, and then asked to do more, and then asked to do more. So ended up being the dean of the College of Education at the University of Denver, then recruited to be the provost at Regis University, and then someone who is very close to me saw the posting for Slippery Rock and said, "This sounds like you." And then the recruiter followed up with that, and that's how I'm here. So very proud of the institution, very proud of the people who have come before me, and very proud to be in a position to lead this great place. So,
Love that.
And we're proud to have all of you here amongst us today. And we're going to talk a lot more about opportunity
Here as well. We're going to start with a question specifically for Emily, and then after Emily answers, if one additional person would like to chime in, again with brevity, because we want to get to all of our questions here today, because we have some pretty amazing ones. Okay, Emily, so first of all, as a member of the Sheets family, and obviously an executive at Sheets as well, could you share the advantages and challenges of being part of a family-run enterprise? It's really expanded quite significantly. And from your experience, what stands out as the most notable challenge that has arisen from that?
I mean, I could talk all morning about this, so you'll cut me off.
Yes,
So the company was founded 70 years ago by my uncle, Bob Sheets, and many of his brothers joined him over the years to run the business. So I am technically second generation, but 70 years on, I'm more practically third generation. We are so privileged to still have Bob and Steve and Stan and all the brothers, continuing to be engaged and involved in the business. It's wonderful to work with your family. I work very closely side by side with my brother. I think they did a great thing from the beginning where they were able to separate business and family. So our family get-togethers were always about family. It was never business. And I think that really set a really good tone for continuing great relationships between and amongst the family. So that's been really important, and that continues today. One of the greatest things is, we're always searching for kind of candor in business, right? So that we can really get down to what's really happening. And when you have that foundational relationship with the people you work with, it's actually a lot easier to get there, and we have richer conversations. We have more meaningful discussions, and we get to, I think, better places because we're able to do that. So I think that's really important.
What about a challenge?
Yeah, so the challenge, though, is the flip side of that, right? Where, and especially having all of the multi-generations being involved and engaged in the business is a blessing and a curse, honestly, in some ways, because they did an amazing job of building this company from 1 store to 10 to 100 to, over 700. But to run a business of 10 stores is totally different than running a business of 700. We have, our enterprises at a scale and scope right now that I don't think they ever imagined, right? So everything that they did to grow the business is how they know how to grow and lead a business. But what we need now is a little bit different. So there's always this constant challenge of not only generational, perspectives, and we can talk about that later too, but also, what does it take to run the business of today? And you want to really honor, the legacy and the hard work and the amazing accomplishments that they have crafted, for 70 years, while also being able to, the way I talk about it is I want this company to be as viable and vibrant in 70 years from now. So how do we get there? How do we bridge that?
Can one other panelist talk about the challenges in their particular realm?
Yeah, am I
I think
on?
you turned it off.
Let's see if.
You can take Huma's mic.
Yeah, having a family business, certainly I'm first generation in this. I was thrown into this. It wasn't my choice. Certainly not how I saw my life going. But I will tell you, having 2 children in the business, again, we're just starting out, it's challenging in a different way. I look at it in hopes that it's generational. I'd like to see my great-grandchildren be a part of this. There are certainly challenges just having 2 children. I wish I had 12 or 22, right? So I could put one in each store as time goes on. Well, no, family's great. You can trust them. They have your back. So I would tell you, I hope to someday have an opportunity to talk with you and understand succession planning, right? Here we go. I have 2 kids. One works differently. One has a different position. The other one's a great golfer. But also, it's family, right? And then I have 4 grandchildren and hoping to have more. And how do you do that? And where do you go? And it's very interesting. And growth is crazy. I mean, we started out with 1 store and turned around and I have 22. And my head spins every day, all day. It's crazy, as we all know, as we sit up here. Life's crazy. As everybody in the room, it's crazy. If you're a stay-at-home mom, it's crazy. But yeah, family business.
We're going to stay with you while you're talking because
great.
This question was
Great.
This question was specifically submitted to you, and
Yes.
you and I were talking about this before we sat down up here. And this is something really interesting that I know for sure many women and men in this room may have, but you might not know exactly what it is, how to frame it, how to characterize it. Who has heard of imposter syndrome or knows what imposter syndrome is? Okay. Yeah. So, Karina, this question was submitted for you. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you manage or overcome those feelings? And I want to tell you how imposter syndrome is described. So it's that feeling of self-doubt, of intellect or skills or accomplishments among high-achieving individuals. So it's often successful, dynamic men and women like you who have this phenomenon called imposter syndrome that is really quite a challenge. Speaking of challenges here today. So Karina, how do you deal with those feelings and overcome them? Or push through them? Sometimes we can't overcome them, but how do we push through?
I heard of imposter syndrome 2 years ago. Got on the internet, read about it, and went, oh my goodness.
That's me.
That's me. I get, and this is probably where it goes, I get way too much credit for what I do. When my husband died, I had 2 kids to feed. And for every parent in the room, you understand that it's whatever it takes. I have a great team of people. I don't do this alone. Every day I count on every person that shows up to be a part of the team. So, and I definitely feel like I get way more credit than I deserve. Yes, I struggled. Yes, I got there. Yes, I take our team. Yes, I'm the one in debt, right? At the end of the day, I don't get to quit. I don't get to walk away. But no, I believe that in my heart, yeah, I definitely fall into imposter syndrome. I'm not the smartest girl in the room, but I surround myself with those people, I've learned to survive through it all. And I think that I just get way too much credit. People write articles about me, right, in my sector. It's because I'm a woman in a man's world, right? Now, if a man did what I did, they'd get a pat on the back. So, I struggle with that as well.
Yeah. And, even though there might not be a solution within yourself, I think a collective remedy is having events like this, bringing men and women together to recognize each other's accomplishments and to give us a voice and a platform. So thank you for providing that solution and that remedy to all of us here today.
No, it takes a team. And again, none of us are sitting here because we did it alone, right?
Thank you so much. And I encourage all of you, I really do encourage all of you to do a little research about imposter syndrome if you think it's something that you might have within you that you would like to find a solution for. Fascinating research. Okay, Dr. Karen Riley, we want to hear from you next. We want to ask you to consider the key industries present in Western Pennsylvania, and considering those, how do you intend to collaborate with the private sector to shape Slippery Rock University's academic programs?
Yeah, thanks for this, and thanks for this question. I think there are some interesting parallels when we look at higher education and the history of Slippery Rock and where it's going, and not dissimilar to what Emily was talking about what was necessary many, many years ago is different than what's necessary now. And if Sheets did exactly the same thing moving forward, it would not be successful probably in those 70 years. And if the University of Slippery Rock University does exactly the same thing for the next 130, 34, 35 years, we're not going to be successful. If we do the same thing for the next 3 years, we may not be successful. So what we need to be looking at is not only what are the industries and what are the needs for the workforce right this second, but we need to be visionary in looking at how do we prepare people for the jobs of the future. And probably what we need to be thinking of is not actual jobs, but what are the skill sets that they will need for a variety of jobs, because jobs are going to continue to change. So what we hear from, all the actuarial tables and all of those things is that, traditional undergraduate enrollment will decline starting in about 2025, 2026. You hear that enrollment cliff idea. It's real. It's real. But what we're not hearing is that in 2025 and 2026, people are going to stop learning. We're not hearing that in 2025 and 2026, your jobs will start staying exactly the same as they've always been. Quite the contrary. What we're hearing is you will see more job shift in your profession as you move forward. It will get more complicated. It will change more rapidly. We also know that how we look at learning has changed. I don't have my phone up here, but the idea of creating knowledge and disseminating knowledge is what universities used to do. You can get a lot of that knowledge on your phone now. So I need to teach you, and my group needs to teach you how to learn, how to access information, how to discern that information, and how to apply it in the future. So one of the things that we're going to be doing, we're looking at professions that are going to grow. Healthcare, growing. We've got our healthcare dean here. Engineering, new. How is that adaptable? We've got our business and engineering deans here. Both happen to be women, and we're happy to have them in those spaces. The other thing that we are going to be doing is looking at partnering with industries. Now, we are experts in pedagogy. We can help people learn, right? That's our job. Now, what we did in the past, when we talked about credentialing and certificates and all of those things, is that higher education said, hey, we know everything, so we're going to develop some things, and then you all in industry, you can buy them. And industry said, you know what, that's not what we need, but thanks anyway. Now we're in a position where we're going to listen. We've started this already at Slippery Rock in these first 90 days. I've met with healthcare professions. We're meeting with all kinds of different industry leaders and saying, You tell me what you need, because I can help you, I can help your people learn, I can help your company grow, but I need to listen to you first. So that's a shift in how we will be engaging, and that's what we've started to do. So it's not particularly saying we're going to do this differently or create these academic programs. We are going to create programs that are fungible, that allow people to do a variety of things, and we're going to listen to the community and create programs that work for you.
Yes, yes, it's a completely different landscape in the collegiate realm right now than from when we were in college, right? All right, we're going to hear from Huma next. So banking and wealth management, Huma, are sectors predominantly represented, as we know, by white males. You pointed to that. Could you share your journey encompassing both challenges and opportunities as a woman of Pakistani descent in this industry?
I think it's just because I watched the Barbie movie twice that I'm getting Barbie vibes right now. But my daughter wanted to see it. But I guess it's interesting. I mean, there's no doubt historically that wealth management has been very male dominated. But we're starting to see a lot more diversity. When I lived in Chicago for 13 years, and I was on the investment desk, and 50% of us were female and 50% male. Our CEO is a female, our head of fiduciary is a female, our head of sales is a female, our COO is a female. We have a lot of females, and it's great. And so the way I view it is, some of the challenges, it could be gender specific, it could be, race specific. But my biggest challenge in my career was like youthfulness. And I was, 20 years ago, I was talking to people about giving me their entire retirement savings, and I looked like I was 15. So I joke about it, but I did consider dyeing my hair gray. I never did it, and now I don't have to worry about that anymore because I'm there naturally. But so there's different challenges, and I look at it this way. Look, everybody's going to have obstacles. It's like you can keep running up against the obstacles, or you can just hurdle over them. It sounds easy, but that's really what it is. Do what you do it with a good heart, hard work, accuracy, timeliness, be efficient, right? Have balance in your life, and whatever obstacles you have, just hurdle over them. So that's kind of my approach to it.
Anyone else want to talk about the future demographic landscape in your particular sector? What you see as trends right now, or the evolution of that, and based on your experiences as women?
As a global manufacturer, manufacturing is predicted to have a shortage of jobs, millions of job shortfalls over the next decade. So we have to, for the sake of the business, draw on the broadest pools of talent possible. That's a business imperative for us, and that's really how we're thinking about who we're bringing into the company, how we're retaining them, and how we're ensuring that everybody has a voice at the table so that their talents are used. We talk a lot about psychological safety and making sure that we are hearing and have those rich discussions, and not just bringing people to the table, but that they have an active role to play. And there really has been, post-pandemic, I think, a lot of recognition from companies needing to look at talent differently in those ways.
And Stephanie, we're actually going to stay with you now. This question is for you. With MSA Safety boasting revenues of $1.5 billion, a workforce of 5,000, and a global office presence, what factors influenced the decision to establish Butler County here as the location for your corporate headquarters?
So a little history lesson about MSA Safety, and this will connect to Butler County. We were founded 100 plus years ago in the region after a great mining explosion, and it was two mining engineers who went to Thomas Edison and said, hey, you're working with electricity. We're taking flames down into a very combustible coal environment. What can we do better? And they worked with him to develop the first electric battery-powered cap lamp to light the ways in mines. It was a product that Edison later said was the one of his inventions that did the most for humanity. So we are very proud of this legacy of safety, and we've always been for profit, combining state-of-the-art innovation at the time to do well and do good at the same time for the benefit of workers of the world. So everything that we're talking about today with corporate social responsibility is what we were founded to do. And there's a reason that that was a very Pittsburgh story. If we think about 1914 Pittsburgh, this was U.S. Steel days. This is where industry and the titans of industry, if you turn on the History Channel, I mean, that was Pittsburgh then. And of course, when we have steel and industry, and this is the American industrial, powerhouse of the country and the world at the time. Safety companies were born, MSA Safety, and also another company in the region, Industrial Scientific. So it was a very regional story. And we've always looked at ourselves as a citizen of the community in the region. We've been in Allegheny County, we have a presence in Westmoreland County, and in Butler County. We invested in Butler in the 80s when it was just one yellow blinking light. None of this was around, but we knew that it was going to be an important intersection for transportation, and that the population here was something that could support our needs. We're an advanced manufacturer, and we choose to be in America and in Butler County because we see that we have the skill set to make the kind of technologies that connect and detect for advanced worker safety technologies that are used world round. And that skilled manufacturing and production base is something that's a population in our region. And these are people who can produce the quality of product that workers deserve when life is on the line. And at the same time, we're able to draw from all of our universities because as manufacturers, we're not just making widgets, we're innovating, we're creating, we're designing. Everything that we make, we also imagine. And that combination of talent in the region is something that makes us want to be here, and we continue to bring jobs from other states to our home base here in Butler County. The very land that we're sitting on today, I'm proud to say that some of our leaders of MSA Past donated to Slippery Rock University to form the Regional Learning Alliance. And many of you probably drove up here through the MSA Thruway. That was in 2021, something that we also donated that land because we know that infrastructure in Butler County is critical for our success. So we are a proud citizen of Butler County, of southwestern Pennsylvania, of America, and the world, because we protect the world's workers.
Appreciate that. Yes. I feel so enlightened, having learned so much already today. We're going to stay on that theme, too, of regional impact right now. And these are general questions, and one of you can chime in after I ask the question. Southwestern Pennsylvania, as we all know, has that rich history and diverse community mindedness. So how do you see women shaping the future of the region, both economically and culturally, when you look at regional impact overall? Who'd like to start?
Go ahead,
I can go. So I wanted to make I thought about sort of our topic today, women shaping our region, and a couple of observations and things came to mind. One, everybody gets together, like today, it's like a warm, great feeling. You know how when you have life and everything's good and then you have like a cherry on top? When women are together or any community bands together, it really is great. It's like a perfect thing in life. But there are challenges that we face, right? So number one, like syndrome, like we talked about imposter syndrome. Other observations that I have you heard about the crab syndrome with women? Okay, so if you have a bucket of crabs and they're trying to get out, when a crab is like kind of going to the top, other crabs pull it back down. And so this is a syndrome or a phenomenon that some have written about, books and articles with women. It's a challenge, right? When you're in an organization, like, we want to help each other, but we also have this competition. And so just be mindful of those kind of biases, I think, is really important. I don't see it, I don't do it, we don't do it here, but it is something that's out there. The other thing that's out there is there was a book written about women that say yes. Yes, women, okay? And they say yes to all the stuff, and they end up doing a lot and burning themselves out, right? Whereas, like, men may be less, again, not to sound like the Barbie movie, but maybe less inclined to say yes, and so they're working on higher value projects. Be a no person, be a no impact, sort of thoughtful person, strategic about everything that's on your plate, because otherwise you'll be saddled with things that are not high value, and you will hold yourself back. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about those as it applies to our region. I see bright, amazing women all over our region. We are a nonprofit community. We are a community that cares about each other and wants to help each other, and women really shine in that respect. So we have a great region here.
Yeah, and it sort of pulls back on that, old-fashioned theme where, we have to feel like we do it all. We don't have to do it all. Yeah, we have to tell ourselves that. We can say no sometimes. Who else wants to comment on the regional impact and how we're shaping our region? We can talk about economics. We can talk about culture. Emily?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm as qualified. No, not working.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I'm as qualified. So we only opened our office in Pittsburgh in 2019, so really started engaging more directly, me personally, with, I think, the greater Pittsburgh region at that point. I did actually move my family here this fall, which has been amazing. And so we're all very, very happy. We love it here. And I think one of the things that I really love about being here is that any time I go to any event, such as this, or, throughout the region, which I've really tried to do, there are always women who are showing up, and they are running businesses, they're entrepreneurs, they're leading nonprofits, they're leading in their communities. I've met so many women already that I feel a great connection with, not just a network. Like, I can really have a community here of women who are like-minded, who are really making a difference. And that's been very obvious to me in just a very short amount of time.
Wonderful. Anyone else before we move on to the next question? Okay, we're going to talk about public scrutiny. So, in leadership roles, in which you are all in leadership roles, decisions are often made in the public eye, as we all know. Can you share a time when you faced some sort of public criticism and how you managed not only the external perceptions, but the internal angst that perhaps came with that criticism? If there's a particular story or something overarching in your lives that you've dealt with and faced public criticism, we'd love to know how you deal with that. And I know you've all dealt with it.
I'll give a short synopsis. And higher education is we are well heeled in this particular area, and hopefully I won't be standing before you doing this in some near or long-term future. But there was an incident in my college. I was actually out of the country when it happened, and it was related to race. I was actually in South Africa and received a text from one of the faculty members who said, "Oh my gosh, Karen, get the racist thing off the website." So, I was in South Africa. You can't get home from South Africa very quickly. I needed to manage the crisis from afar. I had an amazing team and was able to mobilize and get things done relatively quickly. I will say the first statement that we put out, we took down the post very, very quickly. We addressed the situation very, very quickly. And by the time we got home, we had something, a town hall, open forum, all set up, all of those kinds of things. The first statement was not what people wanted. And any of you who've had to manage statements realize that there are about 1,000 people that look at them, and that there are things that you have to protect legally and all of those kinds of things, which we did. When I met with everyone, there were two groups. I got back to a college that was completely divided. There were, the staff were mad that the person who had engaged in this activity was no longer there, which I took care of 15 minutes after I landed. The faculty were mad that I had not publicly shamed the person, which I also wasn't going to do. So I really, again, came back to a space where everyone was pretty mad at me. Now, my approach was be open, be honest, address it systematically, communicate what you're doing, and for goodness sake, don't hide in your office. So during the public forum, I remember, and we will talk about young women in these spaces, most of the people were actually not mad at me, they were mad at everything. And there was a young woman who sat behind me and started rubbing my back. And she said, "You're okay." Now, this is a student who's saying to me, "You're okay." Black student. Gave me a lot of comfort. I tried not to cry. I was like, you cannot cry up here. There's just no way you're crying, right? I will say the next thing that happened was living with decisions, being open with them, and then again, kind of moving forward. I'll never forget when I was walking across, the building one day, and another student stopped me and said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" And I thought, oh goodness, here it goes. Here we go again. Said I'm sorry for many, many things. I didn't do it, but we're sorry for everything, right? And she said, I've been watching you. And I thought, oh Lord, now what did I do? Could have been bad. And she said, I'm going to do just what you've done. You have shown me what to do in a crisis. So when we talk about opportunities, it meant much less to the students, the female students in particular, in my situation, about what I said. I wrote things, I stood in front of people, I listened, all of those things. But again, that probably, was a very proud moment for me of somebody saying, I watched you and I'm going to do what you did, I learned from you. And that's an example for all of us. It's not what we say, it really is what we do. And how do we take that time to mentor those and show other younger women how to deal with those situations, those difficult situations.
And I know that resonates with so many of you, doesn't it? Yeah. I'm a public speaking and confidence coach, and I often tell people to visualize not just making an impact in the world or amongst us, a group of people, but leaving an imprint. And it sounds like that's something that certainly not only impacted you, but left an imprint on you. And so thank you for sharing that with us. Anyone else impacted or imprinted by something that came from public scrutiny? Perhaps it wasn't something that widespread and that public, but something internal within your business that you faced some criticism and how you overcame that. Go ahead.
I can just say that we have issues that arise within our business probably on a daily basis. Some of them are small, some of them are really big. So it's a common occurrence for us to deal with crises, big or small. What I would add to, what Karen, a great case study and lesson in how to manage crises, is that what we find to drive our success in working through them is to get really close to our values. and let our values drive, our decisions and our actions. As a family business, that's easy to do, right? But I think that that's something that everybody can put into practice. You just kind of go inside yourself, say, what are my values, and how can I use those values to lead me through this? So for us, our values that mostly drive our decisions in crises are we take care of people. So that's number one. It's not about the money. It's not about, the customers. How can we best take care of people? And we're not always going to make everybody happy, right? But collectively, how do we, first and foremost, our employees, and I would say probably secondarily, our communities are incredibly important to us. So we're always trying to do right by those two stakeholder groups.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, I'm assuming all of your organizations and businesses have some sort of either public relation or media relation component to it. Anyone have actual crisis management teams on staff? Okay.
So in my former role, I led crisis management, which was not just a team, but a concept that so many different groups within the organization, we tried to think about providing a platform for stakeholders to come together to provide their point of view so that we could act with some urgency in the event of a response and bring the most number of voices to the table that needed to participate in decision making. We also had a public affairs function as part of our governance, because today you really have to think, if you're not already part of a conversation, is that a place or a space where we should lend our voice? Do we have a mandate to speak on every issue that somebody might want us to speak about? And if it's, of course we're all going to be guided by our values, but if all we're adding here is numerosity to the discussion, is that a place where we're perhaps threatening being performative or dilutive to somebody else's message? So for instance, some of the ways that we think about where can we uniquely make an impact in this conversation is being guided by our values, but also thinking about what can we do that nobody else could do or that very few could do as a manufacturer in terms of women and gender diversity. Of course, there's workplace diversity, workforce diversity, but there's also marketplace diversity. So not everybody can help make sure that there is firefighter gear specifically fit for women. And our company had pioneered that in the 80s. And that's not a matter of style. It's actually the fit is a matter of safety. So that's a place where we feel really good to be a part of the conversation, not just speaking, but acting as, very few in the industry could do. Same thing with harnesses that keep you safe. Are those fit for a world of different sizes, shapes, body types, weights, heights? Those are the kind of questions that we ask ourselves. The final thing I'll mention is, and this is a very live thing for us, there's an ongoing conversation in today's world about health and wellness and the materials that we're putting into any of the things that we use as companies. And fluorinated substances have become an EPA issue of concern. And with firefighter gear in particular, there's no company today that's able to make gear that is free of these substances that are required for the very health and safety of the firefighter. But there are also questions about the ongoing long-term exposure to these substances. And we were brought into lawsuits about this, and we were caught in the middle because we actually don't develop the substances, we don't develop the fabrics. We cut and sew these fabrics that are available industry-wide, and we don't have the technical capabilities to do anything different. We depend on our suppliers. So we really had to look inside and say, we don't want to just be, the victim is not us in this. What can we do to bring about positive change so that we're a force for good with giving customers options? And we went to our suppliers. We asked them to join with us. Some did, some didn't. And then we went to a bipartisan group in Congress to introduce a bill that would fund innovation that would help bring about gear and materials that firefighters could choose that in today's world don't yet fully exist. And we were really proud that we got support from both sides of the federal house. And that was a hard decision for us to make, to say, we don't want to just stand still. We might not have created the problem, but we want to be part of the solution.
Yeah, I love that. Would anyone else like to comment on dealing with that criticism or the challenges or crises within your business before we move on to the next question?
I'll just make a quick comment. What you said really resonated. I feel like in any big business, we manage 20% of the world's assets on a daily basis flow through our doors. And so there's going to be globally just things that come up. Some of them are black and white, and some of them are very gray. So I feel like with communication and outreach, just like in any relationship, you sit across the table and you have a candid discussion and explain your point of view. And many times it will bring an understanding together. And then particularly in wealth management is you've probably seen a lot of articles that more and more of the world's wealth is managed by women. And so what we try to overcome is very basic, right? Like public scrutiny might be about like men controlling the finance. I mean, I've had it too. We were, my husband and I were sitting across from a professional and they just kept looking at my husband.
Yes.
And they said, one time I was making a purchase and they said, when's your husband come and take a look? And I said, I'm here, I'm making the decision, So there are biases. And so with, in wealth management in general, we make a concerted effort and some of these things are really simple. It's look at the female, right? Look at the female and have the conversation with her, because many times in families, there's a bigger picture that's more than just financial. It's about the overall picture of the family, the next generation, the legacy planning, the community involvement, the philanthropic work. And so some of that is just very basic, but connect with your inner human being, be a good person, and conversations and discussions really sometimes can clear up a lot of the public scrutiny issues.
Yeah, it's within those gray areas that so many challenges lie, but within so much progress can also be made. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. We're going to sort of stay on the same theme too, and we're going to talk about personal resilience. Now, we've talked about a lot of buzzwords and buzz terms today, imposter syndrome being one of them. Vulnerability has been a big one, hasn't it, in the last few years? So let's talk about resilience, personal resilience. Life outside of work can also present challenges that we know beyond our professional lives and careers. So without divulging too much personal information and personal detail, can you share a time when personal adversity affected your professional role and how you managed to stay resilient? Your examples of resiliency in your own personal life. Who'd like to start with that one?
Wow, I could talk about this for hours. And just following up on your comments about people looking at me and going, where's your husband? I was at a business meeting and I'm the car dealer, right? And this husband and wife are sitting next to me and the guy looks at me, and a dear friend of mine's next to me, just to lay out the scene. And this guy looks at me and goes, so where's your husband? So there's a female next to me, and she immediately kicks me under the table because she knows what's coming out of my mouth. Okay? So I looked at him, I said, he's dead. And let me say, for the stupid comment he made, okay, where's my husband? Am I not capable? Right? So I promise you he'll never ask another woman that again. I fixed that for him. Well, if you're going to ask me that as if I'm not capable, okay? And the stories go on and on. The guy who came to the house, who was a census taker, and there was a couple of friends at my home, he didn't even acknowledge me. He looked at him and said, hey, I've been trying to find you. We're here to take a census. And my friend and his wife are staring at me, not knowing what to say. And then he kept going at this couple, and I finally looked at him and said, do you think I could possibly own this home? Is that beyond you? And I get sarcastic because it matters, right? We're all women. We make 80% of the buying decisions. Think about that. If you're married, you think your husband's coming to me to buy a car without your approval? It's coming back, okay? I've had that happen where the wife goes, you can't bring that home. And they humbly come back in and go, can I get out of this deal? Or she's gonna divorce me, right? So I think it's really important that regardless of where you sit in life, you have to stand up for all of us, okay? I mean, I do it for my daughter every day. It matters, right? We all work hard. We need to take a stance. And it doesn't have to be as sarcastic as I can be, because I'm old and I don't care anymore. Okay? Let me get real. I own my own company. You can't fire me. You're usually a vendor of mine, so what are you going to say, right? But again, I do that continuously because A, I can, right? It's not going to cost me my job. B, it matters for every woman that sits in this room every day. You know, be who you are, but have a say in the world. What's the worst that's going to happen? Somebody is going to look at you and go, F you. Okay, that's happened before. Okay, that's not the first time. No, nobody's ever said that to you. My daughter's cringing in one because the nervousness is now gone, see? Yeah, so, tip of the day, don't put up with crap from men or anyone.
We all have a voice, and now is the time to share it. If not now, when, right? Yeah. Anyone else want to talk about personal resiliency in terms of something perhaps that happened with adversity in your life and how you overcame it?
I'll share a story, very similar. And in my career, a few times, has been conversation. Number one, when I got into a leadership role, my manager said to me, look, you're in a different world now. You're going to have a target on your back. I thought that was very cynical, but as I go on, I see it. We're in the public eye, where our teams are watching us, the community's watching us. We're human beings, and we're not going to be perfect all the time, and women think they need to be. That's why when you look at women in corporate America, in large corporate, a lot of women, and I hope this is changing, and I think it is, feel like they need to be very assertive, very type A, very, close off all emotions, when in fact, that's one of our biggest advantages. And we can make a better community and a better culture and a better organization if we be who we truly are. So a couple of times in my career, there's been comments about why I'm being promoted, why I'm being advanced. It's you're a minority, you're a female, you're this, you're that. And what I say to it is kind of what I said earlier. There's going to be obstacles. Everybody is going to face obstacles. Just leap right over them, right? You don't have to be super assertive and abrasive to be successful as a woman. You don't have to be the mom to be successful as a woman. Be yourself and be a human being that's kind, that does a good job, and we can make a big difference all together.
Yes. Collective impact. I love that. And our last question here, we want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to address this. So we'll start down at this end this time with Dr. Riley. We're going to talk about our future vision. And none of you would be here if you did not have the vision for your families, your businesses, your communities that you have. So we're going to talk about the future vision for women in leadership in Southwestern Pennsylvania, and specifically what steps need to be taken to realize that vision. So Dr. Riley, we'll start with you.
I'm in a unique spot because my job essentially is to promote that next generation. that's really my entire job, is to make things better for other people. I think we can start in a couple of ways, and I'll tee this up for the other members of my panel. So at my table, we have two students. So Ella and Sierra are two leaders on our campus. Would you mind standing up? You can sit down. So it starts early. It starts by providing opportunities. It starts by having a ladder down approach. So I was going to talk about this a little bit with your first question, so I'll just jump in here for a minute. I don't know how many of you have ever been, I was in a space very similar to this where there was a female ambassador speaking to the group. And she said, there are two types of women, ladder up women and ladder down women. And so I'd never heard of that. So I was like, oh, I'm ladder up. Like, I'm going, I'm all in, right? And luckily she didn't ask who's ladder up and who's ladder down. But she said, ladder up women, when they get to a certain point, pull the ladder up behind them. So this is back to the crabs, right? Is that you get to a point and you don't make it easier for people who come behind you, rather, quite the contrary, that you don't provide that path. Or there are ladder down women who continually place the ladder down for those behind them to have a cleaner, smoother, more efficient path. Every single one of us can do that. That means looking for those who have talent, those who have ability, those who have passion, and those who can make a difference. I wouldn't be here if it were not for people putting the ladder down for me, men and women alike. I've had many, many, many opportunities, and that really is the goal of everyone. So when you're, maybe next year when we're in this space, I will have a challenge to you, that you bring that next generation of female leaders with you. That the person sitting next to you is not your peer, but rather the person who you hope will be in your position soon, or in the future. So maybe that's a way for us to think about those leadership opportunities.
You said that so well. We as women need to help other women. We need to mentor. We need to compliment. I look at the world, and we all look at the world a certain way, and women can be so vicious and so mean. I see it with little girls, right? Instead, we need to empower each other. We need to put our hand out and go, hey, how can I help? How about a hug, right? And we don't. Everybody, you get a compliment from a woman, it's like, wow. You get a compliment from a guy, it's like, okay, what, all right, I heard you. But just from a mindset perspective, right? So I think we just need to treat each other a little better and really help one another. In my industry, I can't get enough women to come work, right? Now I have some women technicians, and I'm back there going, you go, girl. Because from there are so many opportunities. I would recruit women in every aspect, and it's happening, but it's slow because I'm in a male-dominated industry. But I truly believe that if every person in this room held their hand out instead of worrying about, hey, I've got to get there, because ultimately you'll get there by doing that, right? Kindness, it shows. So there you go, my little tidbit for the day.
So thinking about the question about vision for the future, I was thinking about this when I was driving in this morning, about what is our future, right? And we can talk about women, we can talk about minorities, we can talk about all different categories of people. and there has been real challenges. We've made a lot of progress over the decades, but my utopia future would be one where we don't have to have these conversations anymore. We are simply treating people like a human being, whether what they look like, what their gender is, what their everything, right? And so I hope for us is we get past this conversation. Pay equality, it's getting better. There's still a long way to go. Promotions and exposure. Luckily, there's a lot of activism around this, right? So large corporations, look at mine. Most of our C-suite is females. That's great. But mixed diversity and having different people with voices and diverse opinions at the table, that's exactly where it's at. And that's where my vision is for the future. That sounded a little bit like a pageant response.
No, we believe you. We believe you. We do.
I couldn't agree more, Barbie.
We're all queens. Yeah.
Wealth management, Barbie.
Yeah.
Manufacturing Barbie agrees.
Yes.
In all seriousness, I think that's very well said and something that all of us in this room can appreciate. In order to make that vision come to life, some of what I've been thinking about in my new role is where am I, or where are we mistaking style for substance? And how do we ground ourselves in conversations or rubrics or things that allow us to take bias out of the decisions that we make and who we invite into a room, who we promote, and who we give that access to. And I've been trying to think about how do we operationalize that. For instance, if business is done on the golf course, maybe I can't tell everybody that now we're going to the spa, but could I, in a foursome, have one ride-along seat that if you don't play golf, you are still welcome to come join the conversation, because haven't you all told me it's just about having fun anyway? So why does this person have to swing a club to be at this event? And it's a little thing, but those kind of moments accumulate. And where we're making promotion decisions, what is the actual criteria that we want for a job? It sounds so simple, but it's easy to get away from. Could we have an actual, if we're having an acquisition, those have been very prized positions to lead an integration of a newly acquired company. It's high visibility. It's a very, very intense role. It's something that our CEO made a big move in his career on. So they're prized. And in the past, we've thought, well, these acquisitions have to be non-public, they're confidential, and how could we interview for that? So I'm trying to think about, could we put a process together where it's not based on we have an active acquisition right now, but we're going to put out a profile of what an integration leader could look like. And then I'm just going to have a call for submissions. And you can raise your hand and we're going to have a book that you have submitted, hey, I want to participate. So that in the future, if we have one of those opportunities come up, we don't have to be stopped by the confidentiality of it. And anybody who wants to participate that might not be top of mind because maybe they weren't on the golf course previously, could say, hey, I'd like to be considered. And they've filled out a form that allows them to demonstrate what they would bring to the role and highlight what they've accomplished before in the past. It's a small thing, but it's my way of trying to figure out how do we put this into talk to operation so that we're acting equitably, giving access, clarity, and transparency on what it takes to have some of these moments that matter.
And you have to continue asking those questions to come to those meaningful answers. So we appreciate that. Keep asking. All right, Emily.
well, my fellow panelists gave some fantastic, responses to how we can get to that vision of equality for women. So maybe the one thing I will add, and this kind of echoes what Huma said earlier around balance and around saying no. I have no doubt that every woman in this room is going to be successful in your professional career and your personal life too. But we need help. We were told a decade ago that if we just lean in, we can have it all. And the truth is we need help. And, we are asked to do a super majority of the unpaid labor, that really runs our families and runs our communities. And we just can't sustain that in the future. That's not the vision I want for my daughters, for sure. And so I think if we're going to start changing that, we need to, number one, have conversations with each other. We have amazing conversations professionally. Let's talk about how hard it is to keep it all together, right? I think we can start supporting each other like that. We can not only ask for, but expect equal contribution by our partners and our families in running our lives. In our professional lives, we can ask for and expect some flexibility, some understanding, and some, inclusivity in policies and, how we, just expect people to be successful, what success looks like. And if we're in leadership roles, we can start implementing that today. And finally, we do need policies that can really recognize the unpaid labor that women are doing and get us the support that we need to really be able to be successful both professionally and for our families and communities.
Thank you very much, all of you. So the last thing we want to do, as we all have you up here on stage and before we start some networking, we would like to ask each of you, and maybe this will be kind of your elevator pitch, what you specifically want this group of people to take away today. What is your one takeaway that you hope the attendees walk away with in terms of your experience and, again, your vision for the future? And anyone can start. What is your important takeaway for today?
I'll start. There are so many takeaways. To give you one, I really would be unfair. I think being kind is really big in the world. I think we're living in such a crazy time right now with the war in the Middle East and the world as a whole, right? I don't see color in any room I sit in. I see people. And I really believe that kindness, humility goes a long way in the world. That's my takeaway.
I would say a big theme of this morning has been supporting each other, right? Like that's how we're all going to lift each other up, lift ourselves up. It was said so well, by my fellow panelists, but that's my one takeaway from this morning.
I agree with all of that, and I will say balance and hurdle over your obstacles. I was supposed to say one, but.
We're living in a either or world a lot of the times when we could be living in a both and world. Sometimes two things that seem completely contradictory can be true at the same time. So where are we being polarized, where we could realize that, we need both of these things, or and more than but or no?
I love that.
I would say that you don't have to be look a certain way to be a successful person, to be a successful woman. When you listen to all of the stories, everybody got here in a different way. Everybody, we look different. We're different sizes, we're different ages, we're different ethnicities. The idea that you used to think, I need to look like that suit that's up there in order to be successful, I think that there's a good illustration up here that, again, I think several people said it, you being you will be good enough. And if we can take that message away, you being you is good enough, then we've done a lot here.
All right. Thank you so much.
Wow, I'm taking away so much. I took some notes here myself as well. I hope you all took some notes, right? Something I'd like to leave you with before we start our networking and before we thank a few people. I'm a storyteller and I'm a news anchor as well. I produce a weekly segment on KDKA called On a Positive Note, where we feature the unsung heroes, uplifting things happening in our community, right? So one of our reporters did a positive note story yesterday, and there's a local nursing care, a long-term care facility that was having this huge birthday celebration, 100-year birthday, not just for one client in the nursing home, but 5. There were 5 people turning 100 this week. So they had this collective celebratory occasion, and it was absolutely vibrant and energetic and wonderful. So, of course, the reporter asked each of those centenarians their question, right? What is your secret to a long and meaningful life? And I have to share with you, because I watched all the raw video, not just the finished product that ended up on our air. I want to share with you what the 4 men and 1 woman who are turning 100 shared with our reporter to that question. What is your secret to not only a long but a meaningful life? One of the men said, clean living. We love that. He was all about wellness, right? Another one said honesty. The third man said humility. And the 4th man said kindness. And when the woman was asked, who was turning 100, what's your secret to a meaningful life? She actually said community. She said community, surrounding yourself with like-minded people who lift you up and who make you a better person. So that's my takeaway for all of you here today. So to achieve that, I think we have to leave all of the crabs in the bucket and leave that ladder down for the rest of us, right? And that's my takeaway for today. So we would very much like to thank each and every one of our panel members here today. Let's give them a round of applause. And we certainly want to recognize everyone who helped put this together. Specifically, we would like to thank Jordan Grady, the president of the Butler County Chamber of Commerce, for his efforts in making this event possible. Where's Jordan? Stand up, Jordan, stand up. And Jordan, not only for this, but we want to congratulate you as well for tripling the size and revenue of the Chamber in just 3 short years as its leader. So congratulations. Okay, so we have plenty of time to network and connect, maybe meet some new people. We want to thank everyone for coming here, and we're going to take a photo first of you lovely ladies here on stage. So thank you all for coming. We're going to make next year even bigger and better. And like we said, bring someone next year to connect with us. Thank you.